Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's 10 a.m. and I know we've got 1 hour to have our discussion today. So maybe in the interest of time, we'll get started. I want to thank everyone. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Carla Nell, President and CEO of the Burlington Chamber. We're really delighted to be hosting today's video conference entitled Survive and Thrive. We know that over the last number of months, the business community and our economy has been really rocked by the COVID-19 crisis. And we at the Chamber have been working very hard to support our members in response to the pandemic, as many have looked for ways to not only survive during this type of economic change, but also to support those who are looking to innovate and adapt. And while there are many businesses, as we know, that are truly struggling, there are indeed some very notable success stories throughout Burlington and beyond that we really wanted to share today, with a view to providing that motivation and that inspiration that so many entrepreneurs and business leaders are desperately seeking right now. And we also want everyone who's joining us today to feel better equipped to respond. While obviously there are significant challenges and impacts that businesses are facing, there are indeed those that are rising to respond to those very effectively, and who at that same time are also identifying and seizing upon some emerging opportunities. So we have an all-star group of panelists today, for amazing entrepreneurs joining us. But before I introduce them and we kickstart our conversation, I wanted to just take a moment to provide a bit of a shout out to our new chair of the board of directors, Maude Leger, who's joining us today. And Maude, before we get started, did you want to provide some welcoming remarks to everyone who's on the conference?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. So I'm the new chair on the chamber. It's obviously a different time right now, so it's interesting to do all of this virtually. But I'm really excited with what the chamber has to offer, the support we're giving to the community, to businesses around, the partnership of the chamber with tourism, the city of Burlington, and downtown BIA. And this event to me is really empowering, because I feel like we need to learn from other businesses. I think it's important to always be in touch. And I've seen the Laura Bradburn, what you've been doing, like how you took on the change and then got on it right away. Joseph, how you're doing masks now, like, and Erika, the switch you had to do from offices to home offices, and Julie Cole, like anytime you talk, it's always inspiring story. I remember the enabling table at the elementary schools and schools. So I'm super excited to hear from all four of you, and I think it's going to be very empowering for everyone on this call today.
Great. So, thank you so much, Maude. Thanks very much. So I'm going to introduce our four panelists, and we're going to kick off our conversation. I want to mention that, you know, our intention today is to ensure that this is really an interactive opportunity for everyone on the line. It's why we've set it up as a meeting and not as a webinar, because we invite all of you to take advantage of the incredible brain trust that has agreed to join us today. So I'll just say a few words about each of our four panelists, provide you with a bit of background, and then we'll get started. So we have Julie Cole joining us, who is a self-described recovered lawyer. She's also a mom of 6 and someone who I would describe as a serial entrepreneur. She was one of the co-founders of Mabel's Labels, and she's helped bring that company and their products to the worldwide marketplace. They have gained tremendous media recognition and have won countless awards for entrepreneurship. She's also a regular television contributor, a much sought after speaker who was gracious and kind enough to participate in our recent Wonder Woman conference in early March, which feels like it was a lifetime ago at this point. And she's also a major digital influencer and blogger. So thank you for joining us, Julie. We also have Laura Bradburn, who is the owner of Styled, which is located in the beautiful Village Square in downtown Burlington. Styled is currently in its 3rd year of business and is a unique style-only concept hairstyling and aesthetics lounge. It's a private event space that hosts parties and classes. And Laura has adhered to a tremendous philosophy that has allowed her to use this COVID-19 period of time very constructively. So we're looking forward to hearing from her about the insights she has to share. And then Erika McKay. Erika, thank you so much for joining us. She's the founder of Niche for Design. It's a commercial interior design firm with a focus on creating workspace solutions that support health and wellness. She's a registered interior designer, and she also regularly shares her expertise with students at Conestoga College. She's been a part-time instructor there for the last 10 years. And in addition to receiving various business awards and nominations, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Erika was the recipient of the Burlington Chamber of Commerce's Young Entrepreneur Award for 2019. So thank you, Erika. Looking forward to hearing from you. And then we also have the wonderful Joseph Tassoni on today's video conference. Joseph is an internationally acclaimed Canadian fashion designer who is based out of our very own downtown Burlington. And while he is well known for his award-winning dress design that was constructed from cashmere paper products, I'm not sure if many of you have seen it, he does have it on display at his beautiful studio at the corner of Pearl and Pine. His creations, his fashion is regularly featured on runways and fashion weeks around the globe where art and fashion meet. So the Joseph Tassoni brand is very well known for its best-in-class materials, inventive designs for all shapes, sizes, and ages. And as someone who has had the benefit of being a client of Joseph's, I can tell you that his creations are truly one of a kind. They're not only stylish, but they're comfortable and just make you feel fabulous wearing them. So a really diverse but very accomplished panel that's with us today. So I'm gonna kick off the conversation here with a question for each of you. I'm gonna start with Erika. So Erika, as someone who specializes in interior design, obviously COVID has dramatically transformed the workplace. And so what's been the impact on your business, and what advice would you have to share with all of us who are now in many cases working from our dining room tables, out of our living rooms with a very busy and active household surrounding us?
Yeah, there's lots of challenges and lots of changes we've been dealing with for sure. From a business standpoint, we were pretty quick to pivot and understand that in actual fact, the things that our clients and that workers in general were struggling with right now are kind of the same as what we are struggling with at the office. So things like ergonomics, acoustic issues, distraction issues, all of those things came home with us and just manifested in a little bit of a different way. I mean, ultimately, we understand that the physical environment has a really significant impact on our physical health and our mental health and well-being. So we were able to sort of take that understanding and look at what do people need right now when they're at home. So we were able, fortunately, to start offering some virtual consultation services for home offices. We are now selling a number of ergonomics products, so ergonomic chairs, even things that kind of help keep us inspired at home. We've had a lot of people just trying to figure out, how do I make the space feel a little more or a little less temporary? So if we're setting up in the dining room, you know, can we make it a bit more ergonomic with some small adjustments, maybe a better chair? I'm at my office right now, but at home I actually prop my laptop up on a yoga block to bring it to eye level, which is one of the easiest and most impactful things that people can do to work better at home. So it's just been about understanding that our clients are the same people and they have the same needs. They just need to be addressed differently. Yeah.
So for those of us who are working around the dining room table, what are the top three simplest things that we can do to create a better setup for our work environment?
Yeah, for sure. The first one would definitely be ergonomics. So there's lots to ergonomics. That's a whole area of study in itself. But the three quick changes is to get your screen at eye level and to try to adjust your chair and your arms so that your knees and elbows are at 90 degrees or as close as possible. So whether that means getting a height adjustable chair or actually just propping up a laptop makes a big change on that. But those are kind of the main ones. And trying to move around a little bit. So I would say number 2 after those kind of ergonomics adjustments would be figuring out a way to move around throughout the day. Set an alarm to remind yourself to get up once in a while, take a walk around the block if you can, or even just around your living room. And try to stand up and work a little bit. Even at the kitchen counter, that's actually pretty ideal standing height for most people. So if you don't have the room or the budget for a standing table, being able to sit or stand, at your kitchen countertop is a really good way to achieve the same thing. And then thirdly is try to find some ways to kind of inspire yourself. Get a plant, or, make sure that the wall you're staring at all day long has a nice piece of art on it that feels really inspiring to you. Maybe invest in a tack board. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but make a point to consider what you're seeing in your peripheral view as you're working all day long.
Okay, great. Terrific advice. And I certainly need to incorporate some of those suggestions already. I'm going to run and get a yoga block while Laura is answering our next question.
But the yoga block was easy.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you. Very practical advice. Appreciate it. So Laura, let's talk about your business. So, early on in the COVID crisis, the province of Ontario issued an edict about what was deemed to be an essential versus non-essential business. And that decision-making had a tremendous impact on your ability to deliver services to your clients. So what has that meant for you, and how have you been adapting during this time?
Well, I think firstly, I just tried to think about what exactly was going to be the need of my clients immediately, right away, and how I could best bring what we do to them. We've been a strictly service-based brick and mortar business for 3 years. So making the switch to being able to do some e-commerce stuff was no easy feat, to be honest. It was definitely a challenge. I am not tech savvy at all, nor did I have necessarily a contingency plan set aside to hire somebody to create a full online platform. So I had to just use the resources that I had. And I think that was the first step, was looking, what did I have at my fingertips that I could utilize? And then, narrow down what the biggest need of my clients were and how I could potentially bring that to them. So honestly, one of the first things I thought of, or what we had reaching out, was women who had like gel or shellac polish on their nails. Like generally that's something they have to come to us to get rid of. And it's just not the easiest process to do at home. So making kits of gel remover kits at home, and those actually we had a really great response to them. So seeing that the platform could work and it helped me work out those kinks, that was kind of step number 1. And then it was just continuing in that and rolling out how I could, again, best keep connected with clients, offer them something that we already potentially offered that still helped with what we are, the core of my business, the brand that we are. I didn't want to sell things just for the sake of selling things, and to complicate things potentially down the road, and just to work forward to that, fingers crossed, soon potential reopen date when we can all do that safely. So.
Great. Now, one of the, in prior conversations that you and I have had, you've used a really great term, which is edit your business. You've mentioned that you've really used this time to look at your business through different lenses. Can you sort of expand upon what that edit your business philosophy has meant, and how that has affected positioning you for reopening potentially?
For sure. Yeah. I found that, we made the decision that we're working towards the goal of reopening. And I found that a lot of the time, so I took, say, putting all of our stuff online, that was one of those projects that I put off and said, in 6 months, this is when I was going to learn. It's something I've always wanted to do. Well, this changed, and then I did it in 16 hours. And I was like, okay. But I always pushed it off because I never had time. And then, so I just made the decision that through all of this, there's been so much challenge and so much struggle, that there was trying to look at it from an opportunistic way, that I now have time. I have time to work on my business instead of in my business. Although I don't actually perform services in my business. I'm not a hairstylist, I'm not an esthetician, but the day-to-day noise could become really overwhelming, and it was ultimately distracting me from the goals I wanted to do. And being open for 3 years and learning my business and what people wanted and offerings, there's so many changes between products and staff and procedures and policies and all of these things, and looking even at like the folders within my, in my computer, and it's just all of this stuff. So this is the time that I'm taking to step back and edit all of our, no matter what business we're in, I feel that everything is going to change, all of our policies, procedures, and all of those. And my industry is coming, it's actually a lot of helpful online resources for reopening checklists. So as we're going through, there's, again, new policies, procedures. So instead of just taking those and writing new ones, take the ones I already have, edit them again. So then setting myself up for going forward. So it's been a really good opportunity to edit my business, edit my life a little bit too. It was a good time to just look at, reaching out to people who I want to collaborate with or that I've really wanted to work with. And then maybe sometimes also on the other side of, of the things that aren't working well, and we can move forward from those, new suppliers, new products, all those kind of things. It's given me the opportunity to do that. So when we do reopen, I'm fresh slate, start fresh. We never, again, with any hope, we won't ever have this opportunity again in our business lives to take this time. So I don't want to have any regrets coming out of it saying, oh, I wish I had, because this is the time for me to do that. So it's been challenging, but there's been a lot of good that's come out of it for me to, like I said, start fresh in a lot of ways. It's almost like opening my doors again for the first time, but knowing what I know now about my business 3 years later. So
it's an amazing insight. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So Julie, you're a mom of 6, a true super mom. And one of the things we've heard from so many members is, it's been a real challenge to work from home with a busy household, kids that are being homeschooled to a very large extent. What are some of your advice for those of us on the line who have been dealing with children of all ages who have found their lives turned completely upside down?
Yeah, for sure. I think, a lot of us are learning that we can work in very different ways and in different environments. And like for me, this hasn't been a real shift because Mabel's Labels was, created 17 years ago when I had a bunch of babies underfoot and toddlers. I can tune children out like nobody's business. So this has been fine. And actually now my youngest is 11. My kids are teenagers. This is easy stuff. But for all you mamas of little ones out there, I'm feeling it. For me, always schedules, like having the kids schedule, having me scheduled. I manage expectations. I communicate my needs. I figure out their needs. We find a happy place. Just even every day letting them know, okay, at 10 o'clock, I've got a meeting with, Chamber of Commerce. At 11 o'clock, I've got a finance meeting. At 1 o'clock, I've got a podcast interview. So they know what the day looks like. And then I tell them what parts of the day where they kind of have me and we can fit in some homeschooling or that sort of thing. Because just practically when you're living in a household with lots of people, I have to be like, look, nobody can live stream between 11 and 12 today. I'll get on a Zoom call, all of a sudden it's laggy, and it's because some kid is like live streaming a video game with his buddies. I'm like, no. So I have to make sure that we're really kind of communicating our needs and our expectations. As far as the homeschooling goes, my kids are mostly managing it for themselves. I am able to get bigger kids working with littler ones, so I've got that advantage. I do kind of feel like suddenly this 6 kid thing is working out for me. It's like my time to shine, like the Dugars or whatever they were called. So I would say, when it comes to homeschooling, remember though, you don't have to do all of the things. Like, I know parents are feeling very accountable to their businesses, if they have other co-founders, if you have bosses, if you have teachers saying, oh, is the math done? The teachers are being excellent. I've told my teacher of my little guy that, look, we're doing math and we're doing reading. That's it. We're not doing any of these like video tours of the San Diego Zoo and writing about an animal we learned about. We're not doing it. I'm just not doing it. And again, just communicating with your teachers about what you have the capacity for in your family and what you can do. And, you know, remember, just kind of to lower your standards a little bit. Like, we're not homeschooling. My homeschooling friends, like, chose to homeschool. They want to homeschool their children. We don't want to homeschool our children. We're COVID teaching. So we need to just cut ourselves some slack. And if the kids are having a little more screen time than, you know, you prefer, who cares? You know, like, we just got to survive. You guys have businesses to run, families to raise. Just cut yourself a bit of slack and again, keep to those schedules. That will be really helpful in this time.
Amazing. One of the things that I learned from you was, you know, how to park your guilt as a parent. Can you talk a little bit about that again, especially in light of everything that so many people are managing?
Yeah, I do. Like, honestly, I always say I gave up mom guilt 4 kids ago. I just feel like for me to be my most productive self, I can't make time and space for things that are not useful to me and not proactive. So I can sit around and feel guilty about not getting all the math done or not doing my best to something, or I can just try and do better next time, or I can learn from it. And I just feel like with the guilt, there's just no good that comes out of it. So if you feel those feelings just starting to creep in, address them. Be like, okay, guess what I can do? I can make a shift. Okay, I'm feeling guilty. I haven't spent enough time with my kids today. So tomorrow, let's make it different. Let's put in something in the schedule. We're going to do a family hike. We're going to do whatever. Just if you feel that sneaking awful feeling coming, just use it as like just a hint, make a shift, but don't let it overwhelm you and don't let it take over, because it's absolutely useless. And you just have too much to do to give that any sort of airtime or headspace.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Great advice. So now, Joseph, from couture to something completely reinvented, reimagined as an entrepreneur within a matter of weeks. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you've approached the crisis and what it's meant for your business model?
Of course. First of all, I would just like to thank everybody in this incredible panel today. I think it's very inspiring to share all of our stories and experiences with everyone. So thank you, everybody. So basically what happened was I've been making clothes since I've been a small child. And then I worked in the corporate apparel industry for about 18 years and launched my company just under 3 years ago. So we produce and manufacture everything within downtown Burlington in my studio on Brand Street. And then in December of 2019, we were trying something different in terms of a boutique and gallery approach within Pearl and Pine Retirement, which is an incredible, incredible building with incredible staff and residents. Also what I like to call the Bellagio of luxury retirement living. So, and going into that space, you know, I really wanted to give an opportunity to the public to understand what Made in Canada is, and then have a conversation with the maker, me, right there on the spot. So you can be from any background, you can have any opportunity to kind of see and be proud of what we can produce and manufacture right here in downtown Burlington. So when COVID hit, it was without even a question, immediately at Pearl and Pine, as it's a retirement building, the doors, they were following protocol, rules and regulations, incredible work because there's not one case within the building. Immediate screening, and then we just followed suit. So we closed the doors before anybody. It wasn't even like, we didn't wait, we just closed. And, you know, it's tough because you're going into new space, you're setting a new kind of introduction, I would say, to the community. So you're changing everything all of a sudden. So we closed the doors, and then I said, okay, what can we do? Because we can't really have anybody within the space. So when the emergency relief program happened, I went straight to the bank. And then as I was too new of a business, I was only eligible for a normal loan. And then all of my workers, although they're full-time contractors, so they were not eligible for EI. So within the shortest amount of time possible, I said, okay, what can we do in watching the news that can allow our frontline workers to have access to the medical grade equipment that they need? What can we do to give back to the hospital, which is what, within 1,000 meters of of the actual boutique. And at that time, the beginning of March, there were 3 confirmed cases of COVID at the hospital. And then what can we do to keep our workers working? So immediately I said, okay, let's invest in a fabric. Let's invest in paying the wage of 1 Ontario worker, and the remaining $5 goes straight to the hospital. So in this particular case, we were able to pivot my entire business from doing couture gowns, and this season was to be the season that I was introducing my spring summer collection to the public. So it's like, okay, it's okay. Things change, and it's about adapting, and it's about focusing on the positives rather than just sitting and hoping that things are just going to pass, because they're not. So we created that item, the reusable face coverings, and I wanted to ensure that whatever we put around our nose and our mouth was a fabric that was luxury, that best represented made in Canada, and that would limit or bring to a zero any opportunity of a rash or reaction to your face.
And so, you know, how has that business exploded for you? Because in the early days, you know, there was a lot of confusion about a face covering versus personal protection equipment, you know, shortage of N95 masks. You know, how has your niche within the market evolved since that time? Because as businesses look to reopen now, and recognizing that there are going to be, in all likelihood, for many businesses, some very strict compliance requirements for health and safety as it relates to employees, as well as the public. What's that space that you occupy, and how does that support businesses across the city and beyond with potentially reopening?
Well, it hasn't been easy since the beginning. When we, as being the first brand to create reusable face coverings in March, it was right at the beginning. The feedback was interesting. We got incredible feedback, and then I got threats for my safety. People saying, I know where your boutique is. I know where you live. I'm going to hurt you. Stop doing what you're doing. So, I mean, to have that message at the beginning of March to where we are now is a very different world. The journey of face coverings has been a very interesting one. We went from, you know, where only wear N95s, then don't wear the N95s, allow the, you know, the medical and the frontline staff to wear it. Then don't wear face coverings. Now wear face coverings. So this journey within such a short amount of time has evolved so much, and we have to quickly react. But from the beginning, like with anything that I do, quality never goes out of style. So whatever I put around the face, it was very important that it represented quality and made in Canada at every level. And what I'm so inspired by is through this entire initiative, it has been able to bring us as a community even stronger together online. Many of the business owners on here right now have actually already pre-selected and got their face coverings for when they're set to reopen. And I'm very, very proud that they're all here and they're supporting local. I see you all, so hi. And I think this is what it can bring. You know, in these types of situations, we can look at it, okay, although we're not physically together, this entire pandemic, I believe, has brought, in my particular case, and I showcase it on my wall through the Stronger Together movement, where we're talking about local businesses. Maybe you didn't know there was that business up on Harvester Road. Do you know what I mean? I'm a fashion platform. Like I show up Fashion Week. You know, this is very different, but I will do everything I can to support our community and to support our local businesses as much as they support us everywhere, from Burlington, Hamilton, Oakville, all of us.
One of the things you just touched on. Oh, go ahead, Julie. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Joseph, like I think what you're doing, and we've done a huge pivot at Mabel's Labels as well. And I just kind of want to remind everyone who's here, and you're business owners, you're entrepreneurs. You guys are wired for this. You're scrappy, you know, like that's why you're here. So I know this is a scary time, but you know, being resourceful and having an appetite for risk and knowing financial instability is what we do as entrepreneurs. So, you know, we've kind of got this. And I think this whole pivot thing, you know, if you haven't pivoted or you're thinking about it, like you just need to really, you know, talk to us, talk to other business owner friends, because we can do this. I mean, Mabel's, obviously we went straight to making emergency daycare labels for the centers that opened, and we're making social distancing stickers for floors and that sort of thing. But we're also making, like, we're not just making labels anymore. There happens to be one on this guy's desk that I'm in Mike's office. Like, we're making PPEs, we're making face shields, Mabel shields, we're doing face masks as well. And really, it's a big part of it too. And I know Joseph can speak to this. For people who have employees, you have to pivot because you want to keep your people. You don't want to lay off your people, right? Like, you want to keep your people employed. So I just wanted to just take a second to remind everybody that, again, we're used to the no sick pay. We're used to this, like, you've got this.
Yeah. And sometimes, by the way, that pivot is not a choice. You do, and you make it happen, because you know what? My workers are my family. That I look out for everybody that's included. So for me, the biggest thing was, this isn't about trying to reinvent my business. This is about us staying alive, keeping the lights on, and then encouraging these people to keep working. Because the moment that you stop working, our economy starts to slow down. So when you add all of us businesses together, we build this economy.
We do. And that both of those comments are a great segue into the remark that I was going to make, which is about, taking those risks, right? As entrepreneurs, every one of us that has been in our own business has had to confront that risk-taking moment. And sometimes doing so where others may not have understood the risk that you were taking, to the point that you were making, Joseph. So what's your advice to all of our panelists for those who may be thinking about how much risk can they tolerate, and how to power through those scary moments where adaptation is at the forefront of your thinking?
You don't really have a choice in these types of situations. You have to do it, because if you don't do it, we stop everything. We stop the economy. If we all decide that we don't take that risk, we can't move forward. Now, everyone's risk taking is different. You can go larger, you can go smaller. In my case, and my mother, I was raised by, my mom is a single mom who raised us 4 kids, okay? So, she's been a huge risk taker. She's put herself out there for everything. So for me, with everything that I do, and I look at everybody, it's so important that I give it 200% at every level. So whatever your risk is, smaller or larger, and yes, everyone has responsibilities, huge responsibilities, but whatever it is that you do and that risk that you take, you give it your all.
So I'd like to invite others on the line to participate. If there are any questions you want to pose to the panelists, Len Almeida has submitted one, and we can give this some thought, and each of the panelists is welcome to chime in on this. And it's focusing on what you think are going to be your clients' pain points moving forward. Like, what are some of those problems for them that you're trying to solve, and how are you planning to solve them? Maybe Erika, do you want to chime in? Because we can anticipate there's going to be some very permanent changes to the workplace as we knew it.
For sure. And I think that actually ties in quite nicely to what everyone on the panel was saying about, how do we get through this and figure out what we need to be doing as a business? And I think the main criteria for everyone is to maintain laser clear focus on who your client is, what your brand is, and ultimately what they need as kind of time goes by. So what I spoke about before with the home office is what people need right now from my side of things. And that is going to evolve for sure. And obviously we don't know exactly what that will look like. I truly believe that a lot of what we've learned from remote working is going to stick, and there will be more businesses that choose either to have their staff fully or probably in more cases partially remote. I truly believe there's benefits to that. I think, reductions in pollutions, less stress from commute times. There's lots of benefits to enabling that, which might sound strange for someone who designs offices, but I do think it's a good solution. But ultimately, it's not a good solution for everyone. So the same challenges that we're facing at home with acoustics and distractions and even kind of motivation and having that energy and community feel and connection to the company you're working for, I think those are the aspects that we're going to be looking for in the long term out of our workspaces. So in the immediate term, it's this: how do we survive at home? In the shorter term, it's how do we move back to the office so safely? So are we reconfiguring our spaces to allow a little more breathing room, quite literally, around each staff? Cushman Wakefield's come up with a concept called the 6-foot office, which some of you might have heard of, but it's gaining a lot of traction. And it's basically the idea that we need to make sure we have 6 feet around each individual person in order to keep them safe. So I'm expecting there will be some reconfigures in workspaces, as well as some reduction in capacity. So if you have 100 people in your office environment, it may be a rotating schedule with 50 people at a time, and then staggering where those people are located, augmented cleaning procedures for sure. And then in the long term, I'm actually excited about the opportunity for us to accelerate a conversation that was already happening in the world of workspace design, and that is, what do we actually need out of our offices? Because a lot of what we have conventionally thought we need, we can get at home. You can find a chair and a desk, and you can put a nice plant on the table, and you can have a window and all of these things. But the piece that really ends up being missing is that connection to the business that you're part of. Some people are experiencing this more than others. Those of us on the panel that are extroverted might be even more so kind of feeling that lack of energy. It's this concept of, why do people like working in a coffee shop? Right? Nobody around you in the coffee shop cares what you're doing necessarily, but for a lot of people, that energy and that connection to a space is really motivating. And we know that our work environment, when done appropriately, really increases engagement and connection to a company's brand. So I think those are the aspects we're going to be talking a lot more about. And I think office spaces might shrink a little bit. We might see more satellite, smaller offices, but all focused around spaces that promote a brand's community.
Great, thank you. Would any of the other panelists like to opine on some of the pain points they're anticipating for clients, and what you're doing to address and respond to those moving forward? Okay, well, we can move on to the next question that we've received. And that is, for those who provide luxury products and services, how do those businesses really edit their services in order to ensure the safety of their clients, but while at the same time focusing on delivering that luxury experience, that element of it that clients expect and will be looking for? I don't know, Laura, do you want to?
Yeah, that's actually something I've been thinking about a lot. A lot of the services that we do are obviously going to be pretty like close quarter. So it's maintaining like the safety for your clients, safety for your staff, but also not make it feel that you're like going for a medical exam. You know, like you don't want that feeling of it being a treat or a luxury or something that you're doing for yourself and self-care when you're all still gowned up in safety. So it's, I've relied on some, number one, I've been trying to find other salons in the US, and I mean, they're first to open, whether we agree with that or not so much yet, but of what they're doing. So checking their social media accounts, checking their websites, learning from what they've put in place. So again, some online, I mean, I do have it beside me here, like a reopening checklist that is like 40 some odd pages long, and just trying to find suggestions of how to make it, again, not forget what we want to deliver for people, you know? So even things of, as someone comes in, of instead of saying, go wash your hands, like hand them nice hot towel first, you know, just to like make it still seem like a service and something you're starting, and then they can go wash their hands and that kind of thing. Just using just little things that still stick with your brand and what the ultimate service you want to provide. I'm going to be taking a few services off because I don't think that they are safe as of now. Makeup application, it's just too close quarters. We just won't be doing that for a while. We do offering a teeth whitening service, and then that's one of the things I did switch to an online platform and then take home kits instead of providing it as a in-service or in-lounge service, because again, it's just a little bit too close, and it's too high risk, I think, for both. So there's definitely some editing that we're going to do and then slowly, eventually, and hopefully we'll get back to that. but I just want to focus on the core things that we do, what our clients are asking for, what they want, and trying to find ways to make sure that it's still a great experience and not too sterile.
Joseph, did you want to offer anything on that?
Yeah, actually. So we are a luxury brand. I mean, we offer customs, so we don't create in mass. It's based off of what our independent retailers want, and then as well as that one-on-one experience with, you know, the clients coming in, you know, for gala events, you know, fun kind of, you know, introductions, new business, you know, opportunities, so all of that. So right now it's completely different, and we're looking at ways to understand the needs of this new luxury client. So, and then how can we facilitate that in a safe way? Having a retail space that's just open to the public, I mean, we're never going to go back to that original normal. And then having people come into a space, you know, and then touching clothes, trying on clothes. I'm not sure, you know, we've never really had a lot of clothes in this space for that to kind of happen. The way that it works, it's very much like a gallery. Like, if you know me, I love my art galleries. So you can kind of walk through, you look at an item, and then what we would do is take your measurements and then create a custom to you. This really might be more and more fine-tuned to that, but we're still working out all the details in terms of how do we create items for a luxury client, but what are their new needs? Because now, you know, people are, some people are working less, some people are making less money, and some people don't have their jobs. So what are our needs now? Like, where, you know, are people going to invest, you know, a huge investment within gala wear? Don't know. Right now, you know, weddings and all these events are postponed, but we're just kind of going, you know, with the flow. And then we're seeing what the local and federal government regulations are and taking it day by day and then adjusting to that and then seeing how it's going. Got to adapt, right?
Well, and we are anticipating this afternoon some announcements from our premier about, you know, the next phase of reopening within our economy, which leads us to our next question from Jacqueline Jones, which is, you know, what can various groups and associations that you belong to do to help proactively assist you while you're reopening and through that recovery phase? So, you know, we at the Chamber have been working very closely with our Team Burlington partners. We've done our utmost to support our member businesses. Are there other things that we and other agencies and business-focused organizations and associations should really be delivering to help? Any thoughts from the panelists?
I think you guys are doing a great job.
I think one of the good things about this happening now, if this were 20 years ago, we wouldn't be able to gather online like this. We wouldn't be able to access other business owners. Like, it was, I think about it, even when we started Mabel's like 17 years ago, there was no like social media. There was, it felt very, you felt very isolated as an entrepreneur, particularly if you're working from home. So I do think it's amazing now that, you know, agencies, organizations like Chamber can gather us together, and we can gather ourselves. Like, I'm in so many entrepreneur Facebook groups, just, you know, with other, like, with other women or with other like small business or other children's products or manufacturing. Like, I have community in so many places. I think something that I'm seeing businesses do, some of them for the very first time, and I think this is how we're going to be able to help each other through this too, is I see a lot of collaboration. I see businesses who've never worked with other businesses before, and suddenly they need somebody to help manufacture something. So they call Joseph, or they need, and then I think that's going to be one of the lessons they go away with after this is, wow, look at how valuable collaboration can be between two businesses. And this has provided us an opportunity to do that. And going forward, I think it's going to continue. And I think that's going to be one of the great COVID lessons for businesses.
Great. Laura, Erika, did you want to offer any other insights?
Yeah, this is to credit to the Chamber, but also has been, in my experience, very much reflective of the other professional organizations and kind of social entrepreneurial groups that I'm part of, is having that support system has made it a whole lot easier to kind of weed through all of the information and the noise and the stress that can be induced by having to keep up with everything on the news. I feel like being able to receive these updates from the Chamber and other trusted resources has meant that, You have a concise piece of information that's what you need to know as a business owner without having to drown in the headlines. And so that's been very much appreciated. And on the professional level too, it's getting that specific information. The Interior Design Association has been really great at helping us navigate and even interpret what we are and are not permitted to do, because it's not clear for most specific professions where you fall into some of the rules. And of course, we want to make sure our team and our clients are safe. So that is really high value in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'd also like to add, you know, just one little thing in terms of just generally, and I think we're all hammering down this point, but, you know, we're going to phase 1. Guys, let's not jump to phase 3 so that it brings us all back to where we were before. So just kind of want to, I know everyone's saying the same thing, but we're all working so hard and so diligently, and we're all doing a great job. But, you know, it's like people get excited. It's like, okay, you know, we can start doing things, but then we don't want to jump that quickly. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. This is going to be a long and measured and phased approach to reopening our economy. The province has made that clear. The federal government has made that clear. And, you know, the health of the public is going to remain first and foremost. And even we, on behalf of Team Burlington and the Chamber, have been very clear in our messaging that it is important for people to stay apart, that is one of the best things that people can do to help the economy, because the more we can slow the spread of the virus, the more rapidly we will be able to progress through these various, very measured stages to get us back to a fully operating economy. And I think that's actually, that is a great segue, Joseph, into a question that Jen has posed. You know, the recent closure announcement of Emma's Back Porch and the Water Street Cooker, which is, you know, an iconic Burlington business, has really, I mean, it sent shock waves through the community. It's truly, truly tragic. And we know that the business community is struggling financially. And on that note, we've been working very hard to advocate for the interests of the business community at all levels of government, to encourage them to provide relief based on their different spheres of jurisdiction to help businesses. So at the local level, we've seen property tax deferrals being made available. Provincially, we've seen payment deferrals and other forms of relief being provided, as well as at the federal level. So, you know, all of those different supports have been so important in terms of trying to ensure that both employers and employees can manage cash flow impacts and or access you know, capital for various reasons. That being said, there's still a lot of work to be done in that vein. And one of the areas that we're working really diligently on right now is the commercial rent assistance program that has been recently unveiled, but that is still not meeting the mark. And so I just want to assure everyone on the line that that is top of mind for us. And we are speaking to government on a daily basis about this and encouraging them to revisit that program. So much as the initial emergency wage subsidy was revisited from the 10% to 75%, we're hoping that there will be more relief to come in the coming days to align with the announcements we expect this afternoon about businesses reopening. So,
thank you.
So that's, I think, Krista Kay, I think you asked a question about, you know, the message about collaboration is really, really resonating. Are there other key lessons that you've learned through all of this that you want to share that can help propel businesses forward? Other insights from any of our panelists? Talk about
and promote the other businesses. On my wall, you know, it was something that came so organically. You know, this group, and it first started, you know, with my neighbor right across, Vince at Meta Mortgage, called me up and said, Joseph, this initiative and what you're doing for the hospital is incredible. I want to be part of it. So I said, you know what? Put everybody up on the wall. So we did the Stronger Together movement, highlighting them. Meet Vince at Meta Mortgage Group. Meet, as an example, like I can see Sherry Taylor's on here. Meet Sherry Taylor, you know what I mean, from, you know, Jewelry Appraisal. Talk about your local businesses. Promote your local businesses. Talk about your community, because you know what? This online kind of sharing and support is going to build your businesses even stronger sometimes.
Very much so. Any other thoughts, Julie? Erika?
I was actually just wanting to speak for a minute actually about, I know part of, I think the value that I bring to this is talking a little bit about how to get a lot of stuff done when you have a lot on. And I think, you know, what we're doing now is going to obviously propel our businesses later when we get back to whatever this new normal is. So I just wanted to throw out a couple of sort of my productivity hacks, because I think that might be helpful and relevant to Krista's point, like what are we doing now that will help us later? So as I mentioned earlier, I really am a big believer in scheduling and structure and routine, and by doing those things, you will be more productive. One of my other things that I always do is I call it, I eat the frog. The thing I want to do least, I do first thing in the morning and get it done, because otherwise I can find incredibly creative ways to procrastinate, chomping down on that frog. So I get that one done first, and I just find that it helps my productivity for the rest of the day. Those of you who were at the Chamber event know that although I have a massive to-do list, I also think we need to look at what we do and what needs to go on your do not do list. What are you doing in work and in your home that you don't need to be doing? Is there something you can get your VA to do? Is there something you can get your kid to do? Now my 15-year-old is my tech support now. So like, what are we doing? I don't have time to be doing some of the stuff, so she can do that. So I do challenge you all to have a list of things that you should not be doing, and then stop. Just stop it, because you have to value your time and do the things that will help you be most productive and most useful. Avoiding distractions. We're all working at home for the first time for a lot of people. It can be very distractive, small humans, you know, but also things like social media. So, you know, turn off those notifications. If you have stuff to do, don't be just scrolling that Instagram or the TikTok or whatever. Just really set some limitations around that. Also, a struggle about working from home is that you do have the distractions of, you know what, I could really use throwing in a load of laundry. Ooh, I should probably put dinner on. You need to be able to look at those breakfast dishes and just tune them out. If you have work to do, the breakfast dishes will still be there at 7 p.m. And also, guess what? Kids and spouses are really good at breakfast dishes, so you can delegate that. Put that on your do not do list. And then I think, to Erika's point, having a dedicated workspace where your mind can be productive and you feel ergonomically correct and all that jazz. I think that will help you be really productive working at home as well. So just a few things I wanted to get out there, because I'm a big fan of takeaways.
No, those are great, Julie, as always. Terrific advice from you. Thank you so much. To the other panelists, because I'm mindful of the time, are there any specific insights that you want to share, key messages, takeaways, building on what Julie has just shared with us?
I'll add one. I think it's tempting in these like over digital times to want to kind of turn inward and not be involved in certain things, but to stay connected as much as you can. And even if it's sometimes a little bit of a push, make the point to stay connected, both with the people in your professional circles and your personal circles as well. Like, make a point to stay connected. And that's really how we're all going to get through this in the end and be in a better position when things do get back to whatever normal looks like down the road.
Mm-hmm. Great.
I think somebody did ask a good question, Carla, that maybe you can provide some insight to. And it's like, what's your sense of how people are feeling? I mean, the Emma's thing was, like you said, a big blow. What are you hearing from other business owners? Are there many, are lots about to shut their door? Like, how at risk are we right now? Like, are you feeling?
Well, we're a member of both the Ontario Chamber of Commerce as well as the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. And both of those organizations have been very diligent about surveying businesses across Canada, across the province. And we have certainly encouraged our members to participate in those surveys so that we can, take that important pulse check. I would say to you that, the economic impact of COVID is unlike anything else our economy has ever experienced. And in response, we've seen an unprecedented level of government spending with a view to trying to shore up and provide that safety net. we're hearing that, more than 60% of businesses across the country have experienced as much as or more than a 40% decline in revenues. So the effects of this are deep and profound, and there is no industry that has been untouched in some way, shape, or form by COVID. So I think, we are on the verge of a truly paradigm shift in terms of our economy, how we consume goods and services, among other things, and it's everything from the customer experience to supply and demand that are also being impacted. So we know that businesses right now are facing more of an extreme economic impact and hardship than probably has ever been experienced. And I think it's going to take a very thoughtful and strategic recovery approach to target relief to those industries that have been hardest hit and that may in fact be among the very slowest to fully recover. So I think some of the work that we're championing now, where we're starting to talk about what does recovery look like, both short-term, medium-term, and long-term, are really important because the business community across all sectors are facing challenges unlike anything any one of us would have ever contemplated a few months ago. So, as the chamber, we're doing our utmost to try to support businesses. There's different categories. We've got those businesses that are truly struggling and that we know are truly in crisis themselves, through to others that are in fact thriving and having a hard time keeping up with demand. And so, we need to think about that as we consider recovery moving forward, and also the impact on consumer confidence and consumer behavior. And we recently held a great session with the DeGroote School of Business where we talked about the fact that consumers and clients are going to fall into one of three categories moving forward. There are going to be those that are reluctant to participate in the economy to the same extent that they may have previously, either because of fiscal constraints or because of fear and a reluctance to go back to consuming goods and services in the same way. There are going to be those where there's a tremendous pent-up demand where people cannot wait to get back out. They want to eat out. They want to get that haircut. They want to buy that luxury item. And then there are going to be those that have developed completely new habits arising out of the necessity that COVID-19 has created. So I think moving forward, economic strategy is going to be very different, but also essential to recovery in the long term.
Absolutely.
So with that, I'm mindful of time. Any final thoughts from our panelists, things that you really want to leave those participating with as insights or takeaways? Joseph?
Surround yourself with people that believe and support you. Okay, you will get 300 amazing comments. I'm going to pull Lady Gaga moment, okay? And there's like that one negative comment that's there and you just zone in on it. Block that. Put it in a box and then don't find that door, okay? Seriously, it's focus on the good that you're doing. Focus on what you need to do. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody will share their opinion. And you know what? That's okay. We live in a democracy. What's most important is that you focus on what you believe in and surround yourself with people that love and support you.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. I would say, ask for help. I always say your network is your net worth. You guys are here, so you get that. But make sure, to Joseph's point, surrounding yourself with positive people who believe you and can support you and want your best interests and keep your best interests at heart, and just remain resilient, remain scrappy. We're all in tough times, but you know what? We're in it together. So let's get through this, hey?
We are.
Yeah, I think same to Julie's point, knowing I've been trying to, it's so easy sometimes to lose sight of that we are all in this together. We say it, but to really feel it. So sometimes when you're thinking about the frustrations of trying to move forward and delays and shipping and just all these new things that we're trying to figure out with our business, like coming everything with a good sense of empathy that no one's ever done this before. including our government, including other businesses, including everybody. Like, we've never been in this situation before. So we're all learning, and we all have to be empathetic and learn together. And I find that's helped my brain space a lot. If I kind of take a step back, like, right, you've never done this before. I've never done it, you've never done it, and let's all work together and go from there. And I think we'll all come out the other side. So
we are in this together for sure. So any other final thoughts? Maude, is there anything that you'd like to add? It's been a great discussion today.
Yeah, I think that was a great discussion. I'm really excited to always participate to those. And I like the positivity. Like, I'm really into get along with people that are positive, get some Zoom meetings with people who are positive, who are lifting you up, because it's only going to help you personally and in your business. So thank you for sharing, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being on the call today. We have recorded it, so we will be posting it on our YouTube channel for those who may not have been able to participate today. So if this has been helpful, direct others to this discussion. We also have, as I mentioned, through the Chamber, a host of resources that we encourage businesses across our community to take advantage of, listed on our website. And if there's anything further that we can do to support you or others, please don't hesitate to reach out. We really are in this together. That's been our guiding light through all of this. And I just want to say, on behalf of the Chamber, thank you sincerely to our amazing panelists for sharing today. Always a delight to speak with you and work with you. And we wish everyone very well. Thanks so much.
thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Oh.